Shalom, guys. Shalom, everybody. So let's continue. We are in the middle of chapter 2 of Tanya, which we started with mentioning the second soul we got, which appears to be actually the main soul, the godly soul, which is a part of the divine essence itself, no less than that. So why do we call it the second soul? Soul number 2. Why is it secondary?
Is it built on top of the other one? Or like it's
Built on top, okay.
Yes,
Like a floor. Yeah, the higher the floor, the bigger the number.
Why two separate utilities?
You asked why the spiritual soul is called the second
Why
one?
did no? All the souls are spiritual. There is no physical soul. We just call the more sublime one. We call it divine soul, because in the human creature of the Jewish type, as we mentioned before, the duality is critical to the extent that two poles, negative and positive, that are divided into two carriers, so to speak. Do not exist within one soul, like by everybody else, but kind of divided into two entities. One, which is closer to our material part, to our body, we call animal soul, because that's what animates our body. The one which is more sublime, we call divine. That's what is, how to say, responsible for the fulfillment of our divine mission in this world. So it appears to be much higher than the animal soul, right? Why we assign the number 2 to it?
Because it's come secondary in our everyday life?
In our perception of reality. Right? We feel kind of it again, feel quote unquote. Some people live successfully without even the concept of the soul, God, and other type like this. But if we accept it, still that element which animates us, which gives us vitality and makes our body to move, that's what we perceive in the first place. Something more sublime, more godly. We don't feel so how to say immediately, so to speak. It's
not as apparent.
It's not exactly. It's not as apparent. It's kind of beyond our perception. That's why it's called number 2, quote unquote.
Because we can't see that, we can't touch it.
Right. In the order of perception, it comes not the first. Maybe by very spiritual people, by the tzaddikim, by righteous people, that's the main part of their reality. But by us, by the normal people, regular people, it's the opposite. That's why it's called the second soul. But we mentioned that this second soul is no less than part of godliness, or to literally speaking, part of the essence of God Himself. The second soul of a Jew is truly a part of God above. Truly, literally. Part of God is actually, it's the quotation from the script. But Alter Rebbe adds word mamash, literally, truly. So we should not take it as a metaphor. But what's the meaning? What's the meaning of that? And Tanya brings different explanations, examples, parables. One through the quotation of the script, where the Torah describes the creation of the man using the word breathing in the soul. So that conveys the idea the concept of putting in some very, very inner substance. There is another way how Torah conveys the same idea by calling Israel, nation of Israel, the God's son, the God's child. Bonim atem l'Hashem Elokeichem. You are the children of the Lord your God. And Tanya explains the essence, the concept of this mashal, of this parable, of this term. Similarly, how the child comes, the whole body develops from one cell, but even the formation of this cell is a result of the impulse, explosive impulse starting within the brain of the parent, and through the process of materialization, it becomes the cell which gives the beginning to the later fully developed body. Similarly, the source of the roots of our souls, they come from the level of divine wisdom, like godly brain, so to speak. Hashem created this whole structure of the universe, the whole system through which He corresponds with the creation, through which He, first of all, created everything, and keeps the dynamic connection with the creation through the certain structure, which resembles actually the structure of our soul and our body. That's the idea which is called in the Torah B'Tzalmeinu Kidmoseinu. When Hashem created Adam, He said, let's create a man, a human, in our image and similarity. That's one of the meaning of this idea. And in the highest level of the structure is called divine wisdom, which is absolutely united with the essence of Hashem Himself. So on this level, the roots of our souls exist. So then, the question comes: if all the souls come from the same source, how can we see such a tremendous multiplicity of levels, kinds, and so on different aspects? Like when we compare the souls of different generations, there's such a big difference. The soul of the first generation of Jewish nation, when we became a nation, when we were taken out from Egypt and received the Torah, our job description in this world, those people were giants. Their spiritual level was incomparable to ours. The Talmud says that even the most simple person, say at the moment when the sea was split, saw the prophetic visions higher, more tremendous than the greatest of prophets. And it's not just because that's what they were shown. It's not. I mean, when the simple person, let's say, comes to the to the advanced movie session, and a masterpiece. It's not an achievement. He just came. If he understands, that's another thing. But the fact that they saw these prophetic revelations shows that they were on the certain level to be able to perceive it and to apprehend as a prophetic vision. And that was a greater level than highest of prophets of the further generations, to whom, again, we cannot compare ourselves. So the first generations are compared to brain, and our generation is called the generation of the hills. It's called hills of Mashiach, meaning that his steps are heard in this generation, which is great and sounds very hopeful, but also conveys the idea of how low we are comparing to
But
our.
physically, they were like twice than us, triple than us. How much?
In all the aspects, physically, spiritually.
No, but for us to concept, for our limited, for our limited mind to be able to concept. So I know that the average person, it's around like 160, 170 centimeters. So how can I know the measurement of like their
If I answer to your question, I cannot give you the number. If you compare our generation to the generation of Moses, what's the how to say? What's the number you need to multiply? I don't know.
No, she's saying like if we weigh about 100, average male weighs about 160 pounds. Those giants, what is average giant?
No, giants. I meant not necessarily in the physical size, in the intellect, in the spiritual development, and so on.
But even in physical aspect, well, what he was saying here was the difference in like the higher level of the soul of the people. But even in physical, because she's asking like the difference in height or whatever.
Physical.
Moshe was 10 tefachim high.
That Moshe
So
himself was.
How will that be?
Again, it's midrash, which I wouldn't take as how to say. I wouldn't put it in his medical profile, those numbers, but they convey this the meaning of how great he was as a person, as a prophet, and so on. That's comparing the different generations. Even within the same generation, there are different levels of souls, because Jewish nation in every generation exists as an organism, as a system, as a body, where every soul has its own place and function, like the cells within the human body. They are grouped into the different organs and so on. Similarly, we are also grouped in different communities in the local scale, in the more broad scale, what we call communities, with even different ways of functioning, as long as it's within the Torah law. But there are different customs, and that's actually how Hashem wants us to function. The same way, like within the body, the most precious part for some people is a brain, right? But if it would be only brain, it wouldn't be able to exist. So the brain, the head, needs other organs which might be more simple, but the body, the whole body cannot function, cannot survive, cannot exist without them. The same for the Jewish nation. We exist as a one body where every soul has its specific function.
Not to sway away, because the audience is Jewish, but do non-Jews also have a godly and animal soul?
That's what we discussed in one of the previous lectures, which were recorded specifically for you.
It was the first one we recorded for you.
Was it really?
We started all this torture with look so many devices, with my editing through the nights, specifically for you, and you asked me this question.
I did watch them, but I missed that one.
The question which we discussed at the most provocative, the most politically incorrect class, which I'm not going to repeat now.
Okay, I'll rewatch it.
Yes, please rewatch it. And I mentioned it in the beginning of today's class, that by calling normal people, they have these two poles, two sides, positive, negative, good, bad, whatever you call it, as a part of one entity, the soul. It's not that we have one soul more. No. It's just different structure, where two sides, two poles, whatever, are divided into two separated carriers, so to speak. One we call animal soul, one we call godly soul, divine soul. It doesn't mean that non-Jews, Gentiles, have only animal soul. It's not. It's absurd to call it animal soul. It's just this soul. They have both animal and more lofty spiritual part as parts of one entity, the soul. Whereas it's more dramatic, more drastic, and as I allowed myself to speculate last time we discussed it, maybe that's the source why the mental problems are more common among Jews, because our spiritual structure is, the polarity is more drastic, more severe. L'chaim.
We're fine.
It should be less those problems, right?
Was it with the second one?
But
The first recording, second class.
Okay, I watched that the same day it came out.
That was a class.
I'll send you the link to
Yeah,
that
what's
specific.
the link from the rabbi himself.
Okay, so let's continue this idea of multiplicity and multitude of different levels of souls, which come from the same source. Even within one soul, we can find different levels. We call it. We use the term nefesh, the soul, but nefesh is only one level of the soul, the lowest actually.
Nefesh chaya.
Nefesh chaya is already combination, Kabbalistically speaking, combination of two terms referring to different levels of the soul, which is not mentioned on this level of conversation, but we can add to this picture. Tanya mentions three levels: nefesh, ruach, and neshama. For us, important that there are different levels of the soul. There are even more, chaya and yichida. There are 5 levels of the soul. But for us, important to understand that at least 3.
Nefesh chaya in Hebrew.
Nefesh is being revealed through our actions. Very simply speaking, ruach, by many people, it's never reveals itself. When in what we're doing, and again, when we're talking about the revelation of our divine souls, and when it's the acts, when we fulfill our mission in this world, doing mitzvahs, good deeds, and so on, studying Torah. So when it's on the level of fulfillment, the basic level of accomplishment, that's nefesh. When our emotional level of the essential emotional level of the soul is also employed in the way how we act, how we serve the Creator, that's the revelation of Ruach. When there is serious intellectual input, and we're not talking about just certain level of understanding. It's the level of very deep revelation of intellectual essence of what we are doing. Then the third level of the soul is being revealed through the way how we operate in this world and serve the Creator, which is called neshama. The other levels have to do with something even more sublime. So we don't need to mention it now, but because what we're talking about now is how many levels of the souls exist, and even within one soul there are different levels of it, and it all comes from one source, as we stated in the beginning: divine wisdom or divine thought, whatever. We compared it to the way how the child comes from the brain of the parent. So how come such a multitude, such a differentiated? We already called it as a system, a body, but it might appear as a chaotic, just bunch of different souls of different levels. It comes from one source. So let's continue with the text of Tanya.
But in Hebrew, when you say nefesh chaya, it can be chaya alive or
The
chaya
simple meaning,
animal.
the simple meaning is the living soul. The simple translation of this phrase is living soul.
But also it can be an animal. Because chaya is also like an animal.
It could refer to any living creature, if we're talking about the simple level of understanding. Okay, let's continue. Mikol Makam, nevertheless, Shorish kol hanefesh ruach haneshama kulam meireish kol hamadregis ad soif kol dargin. The root of every nefesh ruach haneshama, and we as advanced Kabbalists we already know what we are talking about. 3 levels of the souls. From the highest of all ranks to the lowest, that is embodied within the illiterate and the most worthless, המלובש בגוף עמי האורץ וקל שבקלים נמשך ממוח העליון שהיא חכמה אלוה כביכול. All derive, as it were, from the supreme mind, which is Chachma Eloah, supreme wisdom, supernal wisdom. Again, I made these pictures. Don't take it literally, as an illustration of how Hashem, what's the structure of God. On the left side, you see the structure of Sfirot, divine Sfirot, the spiritual worlds, the channels of transformation of divine energy through which Hashem created the world and sustains the world. On the right, on the top of the right column, there is a Sphira Chochma, divine wisdom. That's what we're referring to, as a source of our souls. And you see, I made an arrow connecting the bunch of souls, so to speak, with a hint that it's still a structure. Like we said, the Jewish nation is like one body, one system functioning together. And this is connected. All this multitude of different souls, they all come from one source, divine wisdom. That's the level of the formation of the soul, initial formation of what we call soul, the root of the souls. Okay, it requires the explanation. כמשל הבן הנמשך ממוח העוף, שאפילו ציפורני רגליו נזהבו מציפור זי ממש, על ידי שיוסו תשע חדושים בבטן האם. The manner of this descent is analogous to that of son who is derived from his father's brain, like I mentioned before. In that, even the nails of his feet come into existence from the very same drop of semen by being in the mother's womb for 9 months. על ידי שהיא עושה תשע חדושים בבטן האם. ויורד ממדרגה למדרגה להשתנס ולהזהבס ממנו ציפורניים. Descending degree by degree through this 9 months, changing continually until even the nails are formed from it. So the nails are brought as an example of the lowest, the simplest part of human body, to the extent that we don't even feel we don't have feeling in the nails. There's no nerves in the nails. That's it being part of the body. It's already, I don't want to call it half dead, but it's the least animated part of the body. But even this part is a part of the whole system and comes from the same initial source, which is on the level of the formation of the body of the child and the fetus. It's just one cell, then 2, 4, and so on. And through this process, which takes 9 months, all the different kinds of organs and inner systems, subsystems of the body being formed, until even the most primitive ones which is still part of the entire system and comes from the same source. Ve'im kol zeh, ואם כל זה, עדינו קשורה מיוחדת בייחוד נפלא ועוצם במהוסה ועצמוס הראשון שהייסה טיפס מאהב. Now the interesting statement. Yet, after all this process, it's still bound and united with a wonderful and essential unity with its original essence and being, which was the drop that came from the father's brain. Because we understand that all these different parts of this cute baby, which came from one source, which prior to its physical appearance wasn't even on that level of material existence. Yes, we called it the impulse, the explosion on the level of highest nervous system of the parent in the brain. And okay, we can say that in physical terms it's electric signals. Okay. Even if we discuss it in such a physical terms, it's still the physicality of this signal is different from the physical existence of formed cell. Correct? Mm-hmm. So when you look at the child, you still can connect the dots and realize where this new creature, new human being came from. Not only that, let's continue. וגם עכשיו בבן יניקס הציפורניים וחיוסם נמשכס מהמוח שבראש. And even now, in the son, the nails receive their nourishment and life from the brain that is in the head. The whole body, all the parts, they receive signals, they receive energy from the center of the body, which is brain. That's what monitors, controls, and rules over the body. That's the ruling center of the body, which all the cells are connected. All the parts of the body, even the most primitive, are connected to this center. Let's mention something in the parentheses, so to speak. Kidesa v'gemora, lovin shemana gidim v'atzomis v'tziparnaim, v'kmei shekosov be'etz chayim shar ha'chashmal, b'seid levushim shal odom harishon began eden, shehoy tziparnaim mivchinas ma'ach tfuna. Okay. As it's written in the Talmud, from the white of the father's drop of semen are formed the veins, bones, and nails. And in Etz Chaim, Shar Chashmal, it's one of the Kabbalistic books, it is likewise stated in connection with the esoteric principle of Adam's garments in the Garden of Eden, that the garments were the nails, so to speak, derived from the cognitive faculty of the brain. We're not going to go into detailed explanation of this quotation. It just states the connection between such a low part of human structure as nails and the highest level as brain, on the different levels, on the levels of physiology and level of spirituality. But we're not going to go into the details so far. But what's important for us, that all the parts of this developed body, the system so complicated, so intricate, they all connected to one center, but previously we said that they all connected to the previous source, to the initial source, which is where? In the head of the parent, which at first glance are two different things. The brain of the child itself, himself and the brain of the parent. So you see, I made this picture in such a way. I circled the figure of the child, saying that his entire body is connected to the primary source. But also I put the arrow on the level of the brain, of the head, because that's the channel of connection. There is a very important channel of connection between parent and child. Connection of minds, of two minds. The parent, the real parent, is not the one who just gave birth. It's the one who is raising the new human being, constantly feeding it with knowledge, thoughts, education, and so on. So through that connection between the brain of the child and brain of the parent, the whole being of the child is connected with the primary source, with the initial source, the brain of the parent. And it's unique. It could be compared with the connection between teacher and student, right? At the first glance, it's similar. Maybe the same, but it's not the same. The connection which is possible, which is available between the mind of the parent and the mind of the child is completely different from that which is possible between a teacher and student. There's a story, Hasidic story about Melamed and the student in the Cheder, with the punchline which sounds very nice in Yiddish, but the meaning is that after many explanations, the Melamed, the teacher, says, but I can explain it to you many times, but I cannot give you my brain. With the father, that's exactly the situation. The brain of child is given by the so to speak, by the parent, which creates absolutely unique ability of connection. It's not always used, because you might say very often it's much easier to convey certain ideas by stranger, by through the friends, teachers, or whatever, but not through the parents. But that the situation when there are complications. There are complications in relationships between parents and child, very common thing. But that's complications which not destroy, but block this channel of absolutely unique connection, which does exist. It just doesn't function properly very often, unfortunately. But it does exist, which cannot be compared even to the connection between teacher and student. So let me summarize. So yes, we see how the body of the new human being is being developed with multiplicity of different organs and levels, cells, and so on, but it's still connected to one source, one center within the body, and to its previous initial source, the brain, so to speak, of the parent. Yes, it came from one initial source, which formed just one physical cell, but from this one cell, through the complicated process of pregnancy, through the 9 months, all this amazing picture of new human being came to the existence. The kacha mamash k'viyachol. So, as it were, it is actually true of the root of every nefesh, ruach haneshama. Kacha mamash k'viyachol v'shoresh kol hanefesh ruach haneshama shel klalos Yisrael l'mayla. nefesh, ruach, and neshama in the community of Israel on high. Beyiridosse mimadrega lamadrega al yidei hishtalshelus ha'oilamais atzilas briyatzira asiya. Through the descent of the worlds, for spiritual worlds of Atzilus, emanation, Bria, creation, Yitzira, formation, and Asiya, Mechachmasa Yisborech, from his wisdom. Blessed be he. From this level, through the descent, through the whole system of 4 worlds, through which Hashem created the universe and sustains it. Let's first finish the paragraph, and then we'll discuss these four worlds. As it's written, you have made them all with your wisdom. With, as you know in Hebrew, bechokhma. It has a meaning through the wisdom, with through the usage of your wisdom as a tool of creation, or as referring to the source of everything. The nefesh, ruach, and neshama of even the ignorant and unworthy come into being, meaning all the souls of the entire system of body of nation of Israel, Am Israel, became again like the human bodies developed from one cell, which comes from one source, through the nine months of pregnancy. The same here. All the souls, they come from the same source, but because of the descent through this complicated system of the worlds, from level to level, lower and lower, and this process goes it's a parallel process to the development of the body, of the fetus in the womb of the mother. It takes the same, so to speak, 9 months, if we compare it to our earthly time. That's why it happens. It comes from the same source, but through the process of different transformations, concealments, contractions, and so on. That's how the differentiations come into play. The same way how different types of cells appear from initially just one cell, one source, through the complicated process of pregnancy. Now we mentioned the system of worlds, different levels, and so on. So I think it's worth it to talk about it for unless you're not interested. Okay, so according to the Kabbalah, Hashem created this universe through the special system, different stages of actualization of his plan, of his concept, his idea. And these 4 levels, they are called 4 worlds: Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, as you see on this picture. And as we mentioned before, when we spoke about 4 elements, 4 spiritual ideas, which are combination of which are existent foundation of everything which exists. Every time we mention 4 different levels, it corresponds to the 4 letters of divine name, which you see on the side of this picture. This name, which we usually don't pronounce, we never pronounce as it's written, we substitute even in prayers. We substitute for the name, which again I can pronounce only in the prayer. Usually we say it with some, we change some sounds. It's similar to the word Adnai, right? This word, this four-letter word name, it's actually a form of the verb to be, yeah, but it's written in such a way which combines all the times of the verb: was, is, and will be, and the one who gives being, who makes other to be. I don't remember what's the name of this grammar form in English, but you understand what I mean.
Haya, yeah.
He feel.
Yeah.
Binyan he feel.
Afir, binyan afir, present. In the future.
This word combines the forms of the verb to be. Haya, was, hove, is, being, ihya, will be, and also lehavot, to give being, to give existence to others. It's all crumbled in one word. And also, this word, these four letters, is a universal code of transformation, of transmission, giving forth the energy, information, and so on. Even in the graphic shape of the letters, this concept is hinted. The first letter is Yud, referring to the initial spark of concept on the level of the mind of, let's say, the teacher, the giver, the one who is transmitting. Before transmitting your knowledge, conveying some idea, you need to, from whatever you have, from whatever you know, to select what's to formulate the concept which you will be sharing. The concept. That's Yud. You see, it's just a dot. With some other details, but basically it's just a dot. Then it's being dragged in all the directions of all the dimensions, and the next letter appears, Hey, which refers to the development, to the full picture of the idea existing on the level of the mind of still giving, one, the giver, the transmitter, the teacher. But before transmitting, you need to create the picture of what are you going to teach, the plan of teaching, so to speak. Then the next level, represented by the letter Vav, is just the arrow, the ray, right, emitting the light, information, and so on. That's the interface level from the giver to the receiver. And then again, hey, you see, it's the picture of the concept, but it's not the same hey. In principle, it's a formation of idea, but on the level of the mind of the receiver. And believe me, I'm not the greatest teacher, but I have some experience in teaching. And very often, so to speak, the picture, the thought, which appears on the level of mind of whom are you teaching, is very different from what you meant to transmit. But that's the idea, and this is the universal code, and that represents the structure of worlds, which are the different levels of actualization of the initial creative impulse of Hashem, of the Creator. And since Hashem created us in, as we mentioned before, His similarity and image, so to speak, in the way how we how we express ourselves in the way how our creative process structured is the same idea, the same. That's why it makes us for us a little bit easier to understand. We can feel it within ourselves how it works, recognize how it works, and to try we can try to extrapolate it to come to at least some understanding of how these higher realms are built and work. So the first idea, the first level is called the world Atzilus. It's translated as world of emanation. Remember what we said about the letter Yud, the initial spark of idea. It's not understanding. It's not really intellect. It's higher than intellect. It's a source of intellect. It's eureka.
Will, right?
No. Will is even higher. It's at the top of cognitive level. Eureka, the initial spark, flash of, revelation, not understanding, because on that level, you just feel that I grabbed it, right? But you cannot explain it, not just to anybody else, to yourself. It's above any formula. And you cannot fit it in the symbols yet. It's just a bright flash of feeling that, I got it. You understand? Then, just certain trace of this initial revelation comes onto the level of our logical apparatus, so to speak, thinking, where we build the picture of understanding, and that's the next level of the world of Bria. If the first level is initial revelation, then we come to the understanding, the picture of understanding. That's the world of formation. Next, after understanding what just extrapolate it to you, apply it to the way how you feel your own creative process. Initial eureka, like it's close to the will. I want to express myself, and boom, you feel it somewhere in your mind. Then you build a picture, and then what? Between you build a picture. You create a plan. Plan is already a very low level of this cognitive functioning, very close to the fulfillment, but there is something between thought and action.
That is Yitzhira. And that is Yitzhira.
This is Yitzhira, but in the when we speak on the level of how we function, of our creative process works, what do we call this level, and to what does it correspond? Between thought and action, there is some motivation to fulfill this plan, right? To actualize this thought, which refers to our emotional level, right? Between mind and action, there is emotional level. That's what corresponds to the level of world Yitzhira. And then comes action. Realization. And there are two levels of it. Action as a process, doing what you initially wanted to do, thought to do, felt to express, and now you're doing it. And on this level of actualization, there are two levels. The process, where I'm as a creative being is being involved, and the result. And this corresponds to the lowest level, lowest world, which is called Asiya. And on the level of Asiya, there are two sub-levels: the spiritual level, the spiritual world Asiya, and the physical world Asiya, where we exist and now learn Tanya. So our soul, coming from the highest level, goes through all these worlds, levels of more and more severe reduction of divine light, godly energy, which affects this human soul. So in the result, it affects in different ways, different souls in different ways. So as a result, in this world, we see so many different people with different souls, which refers to different missions in this world. Ve'im kol zeh. So far, you understand?
Yeah.
You know what? Let's stop at this point. Let's just say that after all these processes, when many different souls appear, they still come from the same initial source. And what's also important, they still connected to this supreme source. How? We'll discuss at the next class. Okay.
Correct.
Questions?